Turkey, great, great. I can see a lot of people joining from different part of the world. That's great. So I think we'll start. Again, I'm repeating, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's live session titled The Anatomy of Defensible Construction Claims Part 2. It's a pleasure to see all participants joining us from across the GCC countries, India, and other regions. Building on the foundation established in Part 1, today's session will take us deeper into practical and analytical aspects of preparing robust and defensible construction claims. As construction projects continue to increase in scale and complexity, the ability to structure, sustain, and present claims effectively has become an essential professional skill. We are pleased to welcome our distinguished speaker, Mr. Mohammed Fayed, a seasoned expert in claim and construction management, delay analysis, and project controls with over 20 years of experience across the GCC and Europe. He holds multiple professional credentials, including MICCP, CMP, ARBX, and PMP, and is well regarded for translating complex contractual concepts into practical and real world dynamics. In today's session, Mr. Fayed will guide us through advanced components, methodologies, and best practices required to develop construction claims that are technically sound, commercially structured, and defensible in contractual and dispute resolution settings. Thank you again all for joining us, and let us begin today's session. Mr. Mohammed Fayed, over to you now.
Uh, Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. First, I'm pleased to be with you all, and thank you, Engineer, for this introduction. And thanks for the invitation also to continue with this series. If you allow me, I will quickly summarize what we spoke about in the first session so we can understand the principle and theoretical information that we spoke about. So let me share my screen first. So quickly, what we spoke about it in the first session is about we said that the claim is a story, that if you need to succeed with any construction claim, you have to deal with the claim is a story. It's not an emotional story, and it's not a personal opinion, but the construction claim is a contractual story told through facts, documents, and logic. And then we spoke about the principle that we need to consider while we are preparing or managing any claim, which is making the document user-friendly, making the submission a standalone document, avoid any irrelevant information. Don't assume that the reviewer has prior knowledge about your case or about your project, leading the reviewer to a logical conclusion. And then we spoke about the heart of any claim, which is the four pillars: the cause, the effect, the entitlements, and the substitution. And we highlight about the notices and time bar. In our session today, we will speak about, we will have a practical study, which we will discuss together how the structure of the claim and what the most important information that need to be in any claim. So before we go through the contents of the claim document, it's important that explain what the case is. We have a project which is consists of 4 floors. The ground and the first floor is fully fitted out, but the third and fourth floor is without finishing, shell and core. At later stage of the project, the employer provide instruction to the contractor to make the third and fourth floor similar, or the second and third floor similar to the ground and first floor, the contractor considered this is a variation that cause impact on the time, and based on that, the contractor built his claim and submitted to the client. So this is our case, and as mentioned, that in this session we will go through the contents of the claim document to understand what will be included and what's the most important information should be in these sections. So any document claim will include this section, which is the executive summary, the statement of a claim, definition, arbitration, and clarification, the contract particulars, the method of delay analysis, details of the claim for an extension of time for completion, and appendix. If our claim is just for extension of time, so this is the section what we will have. But in case we are also including additional payment or prolongation cost, so we will see one more section, which is the details for the claim of additional payment. So let us start with the first section, which is the executive summary. This section is, we can find it in the beginning of any document, but it will be written at the last because this section is a summary of all other sections. In other words, we will detail and write all the other sections and then come back at the end to make a summary for whole the claim in just one or two pages. The importance of this section is to give the reviewer or the high top management people, let us say, that reading your claim document to understand what is your claim, what you are asking, and in very high level and in very summary information. So if we
Engineer
can see
Fayad,
here
can you
is
zoom in? Sorry.
a very summary.
Uh,
Any questions?
Mohandas, sorry to interrupt, but can you zoom in? But the screen is it's not that much visible. Can
Okay,
you enlarge it, please?
let me. Okay, so now it's better.
No, yeah, that's fine. Makes sense. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we can see here the executive summary, a high-level information or details. The contractor started with identifying the contract agreement and the parties, which the contract is between X and Y, and what's the project name. In very high level, mentioned the scope of work, which the project involved four-story commercial building, and in very high level is trying to let the other part understand why this claim is. So it's mentioned very clearly here that during the later stage of the project, an additional instruction was issued to fit out the second and third floor to the same standard as the ground and first floor. So from the first page, I could to understand what I would expect in the other sections and what the contractor is trying to claim here. Then mentioned here that in section 6, the very detailed analysis will be included in that section, showing the cause and effect between the engineer instruction to these changes and the impact on the completion date. And as we mentioned that this section is very high level, so here that just mentioned what we are claiming. So the analysis reveals a delay of 108 calendar days beyond the original completion date of 22nd February 2016. So high level information in this section. But we have one important point we usually included in this section on, or in the extension of time claims, that we mention either this submission is an interim claim or a final claim, because I want to understand when I make the assessment and determination, is the event still ongoing and the impact still not finalized, or you are submitting a final claim, so the determination will be final. And this also a very important point. We need also to keep it in our mind when we submit the claim. In case we don't submit a prolongation cost or additional payment within our claim submission right now, we need to mention clearly that a separate claim for such additional payment will be submitted for the engineer's consideration. This is very important because if you submit your claim without referring to this statement, might be the employer will understand that you are claiming just time because of the event, but there is no cost impact. And if later you decide to submit any prolongation cost or additional payment, 100% of the dispute will start because I'm making my determination and assessment as employer based on your statement that it's just extension of time. So this is a very brief about the executive summary section in our claim. Then we go to the second section in the claim document, which is the statement of claim. And this section is very important because here you will start building your story. Here is the beginning of your story, beginning of your claim. So it's very important to be careful how you will start building your story. Just imagine that you are trying to say a story for someone, but from the beginning you started confuse him. So just expect what his impression about your claim. So it's very important how you start your story from this section. So again, in more detail, he start to identifying the project parties, and then in very detailed here, because your claim is building based on the scope of work. Your scope of work changes because the instruction. So you want to build in the employer mind or the reviewer mind, what is your issue? What's your problem? So if you see that the contractor start by identifying or clarifying or explaining the project scope of work, saying that the project first designed by the employer, and it consists of 4-story commercial building, as mentioned before. And in very detailed, he mentioned what is the scope of work inside this 4-story, and mentioned clearly that the second and the third floor consists of fully fitted out in only in the lobbies, but the remaining main offices area to these floors are left with no finishings or service for tenant fit out. So this information is important when you want to start, as we will see later, when you want to build your claim or your case. As we said in the previous session, don't expect the other party has prior knowledge about your project and is very fully aware about what you are claiming. You need to build your story for someone that this is the first time read your case or know about your issue. So he wants to start in understanding and start imagining what is the issue and then expect what's coming next. So here is very clearly mentioned what is the scope of work or what is inside these 2 floors. Then he jumped to saying that during the later stage of the project, a variation was instructed by the engineer requiring the second and third floors to be fully fitted out to the same specification at the ground and first floor. As we said that you are building a story, you are building something to the employer or to the other party reading your claim to tell them that this is my issue and this is what the impact of the issue. So he mentioned here that this instruction resulted in delay that were beyond the contractor control and are summarized below. And he mentioned here what is the impact. The detail will come in the next session, as we mentioned, but he here he's trying to, as we said, building the story to the other party. So he's mentioning here that the impact is first extended procurement time for partition and suspended ceiling because this instruction. He mentioned here that the availability constraint with the original subcontractors, necessitating that the engagement of a new subcontractor and delays in the delivery of materials by PAC office system due to the production lead times, additional coordination and resourcing requirements to complete the revised scope of work. So he say here that the delay analysis to explain how the impact and how to the cause and impact be calculated is in the section number 6, but he tried here to start building this story for the other party to understand how the claim come from. Then he mentioned here that this variation caused a delay or revised the completion date from 22nd February, as we mentioned, to 16 June. And also in this section, we need to mention what the contract governance, what our contract is, the FIDIC condition, first edition 1999. And also again here, at this event giving rise to the claim have concluded this submission represents the contractor's final and comprehensive account of these issues. So this is also a repeat for the information we mentioned in the previous section, that this claim is final, not interim. So this is the first two sections, and this is the executive summary and the statement of claim. Everything is okay? A lot of information. I can understand that, but because it's we need to go through it. Okay. Then the third section is also very important. It's the definition, the abbreviation, and the clarification. First, as we mentioned, that don't expect the other party know or has any knowledge about your project. Second thing, it's very important that to identify or define any words or statements that you will use it in the claim that might cause a confusion or might cause misunderstood, or maybe the other party will not understand what you mean about this word or about this statement. So in this section, we will list all the definitions and abbreviation that we will use in our claim document. So maybe in your claim, you will refer to the employer, but who is the employer? You need to clearly state here who is the employer. For example, who is the contractor, who is the engineer, the other words that might be used in your claim, that the contract word, the letter of acceptance, party, what does mean party, what does mean FIDIC, for example, what does mean commencement date, because my PI will understand the commencement date, something you will understand is something else, what time for completion. This is, for example, days, like to just to clarify what the importance of the definition. It might be, I say in my claim that I'm asking for 108 days. Okay, but 108 days, you mean calendar days or working days? It's a big difference. So in this section, I'm providing the definition, what day means. So then when I say 360 or 108 days, it means calendar day. So it's very important that we include in this section all the definitions that we will be use in our claim document. For example, here we have format and arrangement of this document. So when I see something with this two quotation, for example, so that means that these statements is extracted from somewhere, from a contract, from protocol, from a document, from something. So when I see this format, so I can understand this something is coming or extracted from somewhere, is not the words of the contractor himself. Okay. So this is the third section in the claim document. The section number 4. Let me check if everything is okay. Okay. Section number 4 is the contract particulars. As we mentioned also in the previous session and in the beginning, that this document or this submission or the claim document must be a standalone document, which means the other party don't need to go through other resources to maybe understand something or maybe to collect some information related to your claim. So all the information or details is related to your claim submission must be in one document, in one standalone document. So in this section, the contractor will include in details everything related to the project and the claim. So in the first paragraph, clearly detail the scope of work. As mentioned before, it's 4-story and what is in the ground and first floor, what in the second and third floor, and again repeated that the remaining main offices is without finishing or services. The external of work, what is. Then the contractor scope include execution and completion of the project in accordance with the contract and with the engineer instruction. Mentioned here the name of the parties, mentioned what the contract and the applicable law, what the contract sum. The contractor also put some days related to the project. When is the letter of acceptance? When the formal contract was entered? What the commencement date? And what's the completion date? And also mentioned that if there is any previous extension of time have been submitted or not. In our case, this is the first version or the first claim submitted to the client. So in this section, as mentioned, that we need to include all the information related to the project and the contract. And after that, we have the section number 5, which is the method of delay analysis. As we most of all of us know that we have many methods of delay analysis, impacted as a plan, time impact analysis, windows analysis, but for analysis, and so on. So you need to explain very clearly and justify the other party why you use this method in your case. So it's not enough just to choose a method and start your delay analysis. You need clearly convince and explain the other party why we use, for example, the TIA in our case. So you will, in very detail, explain the weakness and the strength of this method and why this method is applicable to your case or why this is the best method must be used in our case. So this is section number 5. Also in this section, we explained what the program when it's been approved and what the XCR file or what the version that we are using in our analysis. Then we will go to section number 6, which is the details of the claim for an extension of the time for completion. This is mostly the most important section because here we will find the 4 pillars that we spoke about them in the previous session: the cause, effect, entitlements, and substantiation. And as we mentioned before, that if there is any missing link or there is no clear link between these 4 pillars, the claim is very weak. So in this section is clearly started with a quick introduction to explain what is inside this section, and then start with the cause. And this is the first pillar of our 4 pillars, or the heart of the claim, the cause. And as we explained before, the cause is not just a one statement saying, for example, the cause is the delay in approving shop drawing. This is not a cause. This is just a subject. When you we referring to cause, or when you want to say this is a cause, you need to explain how and why you consider this variation is a cause. So as you see here, the contractor started building this cause, saying that the project consists of 4 stories. And here you remember why we started in the beginning to mention to this information in the executive summary and the statement of claim. The contractor need to build this picture or this idea in the mind of the reviewer or the reader before we reach to this section. So once we reach to this section, almost we started to understand what's the claim. But here I want to see the details. I want to see how the contractor could to link the cause and effect with the entitlements, and how he could to prove that. So here in the cause, as you see, that started also to mention that the project consists of 4 stories, the ground and first floor divided to various office spaces. All of them are fitted out. The second and third floor is fitted out only the lobbies, but the remaining offices is without finishing. The project commencement date 24th February, and the completion date is 22nd February. And the contractor mentioned this date here because you will see here, you will see in the next section why it's important to mention some such information. Then and up to now, he didn't say about anything. He didn't say that about the cause and effect, but he is building the cause. And the contractor said the instructed variation to fit out the second and third floor to match the ground and first floor triggered a sequence of events that caused delays to the project, and summarize it below. So first, the specialized partition and suspended ceiling subcontractor couldn't undertake the additional work due to prior commitments, necessitating the search of a new subcontractors. So you are building a cause. You, as we mentioned, you just say that the cause is the variation, but why the variation is a cause? So here's mentioning that first, the specialized partition is not available. The back office or the back office system, the approved supply of partition and suspended ceiling had a lead time of around 5 weeks from the placement of an order. So the contractor trying, as we mentioned, to build the story, to make to convince the other party how I consider this variation as a cause. Then I need also, as contractor, additional coordination efforts were required to adapt existing design and procure materials for the second and third floor. Then when I try to explain to the contract, to the third party, or to the other party, why I consider this the variation as a cause, here I start to details how this cause came from. So mentioned that on 4th January, the engineer representative informed the meeting that the developer has agreed a tenancy with the company with a whole building, that the tenant required the second and third floor to be fitted out. On 12 January, the engineer issued construction drawings for the additional works. On 13 January, the contractor received a quotation from three new subcontractors. In 16 January, the subcontractor's order was placed with this company. On 17 January, the subcontractor placed order. Despite this effort, the first batch of the partition didn't arrive on site until 20 March 2026. So he started with explaining how he make the event as a cause, what's the story, And despite this effort, the first portion will arrive 20 March. And that's why I mentioned here, it was important information for the reader or the reviewer to understand that the completion date of the project 22nd February 2016. So just imagine that the first portion of the material will arrive 20 March, around 1 month from the original completion date. This is only the delivery. So here you could to build this cause to convince the other party about the impact of your variation. And these delays in material availability directly impacted the contractor's ability to complete the additional work with the original program time frame. The second subsection is the effect. So after I explained and built my cause in the document, I want to explain also how this cause affect me or affect the project. So say here the effect, the delay caused by the variation and subsequent material procurement issue resulted in a delay to the planned completion of the project to 16 June. We see in many claim submission that the contractor just trying to send a screenshot for the longest path, and this is the longest path, and this is the fragment, and this is the impact, and assuming that the party will take this section and start reading the sequence and to understand how this cause or how this event caused this effect. As we mentioned before, that this is one of reasons that delay the claim settlement because it's your job to explain how this cause make this effect and link both of them together. So in this section, the contractor explained clearly that the activities impacted by this delay is included the procurement and installation of partition and suspended ceiling on the second and third floor. It's impacted the coordination with MEB, IT, and other finishing contractors to align the additional work with the revised project timeline. And this delay is attributable to outside the contractor's control and constitutes a valid basis of extension of time. And then in this subsection, start to detailing how this impact, how this calculation became from. So if you see that in the delay analysis, the contractor state what the program used for this delay analysis, and then what the fragment, if I will just identify the fragment, is a series of activities reflect the issue to link it to the existing program and clarify how this fragment or how this event make this impact. So in our case, we have the variation to fit out the second and third floor, and the delay event or the fragment, we explained how this variation, because as we mentioned, the cause is not just a variation instruction, but there is consequence caused because of this instruction. So the engineer issued construction drawings for the additional work on 12 January, and we need to deliver the first batch of partition until 20 March, as we mentioned previously, and the delivery of suspended ceiling until 29 March. Then we have some other work that needed because of this instruction. We need joinery second fix, we need ceramic flooring work, we need suspended ceiling, all these a new scope of work. So we need to include them in the fragment because they are part of the cause. And we have painting work, we have carpet work, and we explained also how we link this fragment or this activity to our time schedule, to the existing baseline or to the existing program, and how this, after we add this fragment to the program and link it to the impacted activity in our program, so we explain that this is if this cause impacted the project completion date to be pushed from 22nd February till 16 June, which 115 days extension of time. This is some information inside this section that the contractor clearly state that there are 7 days related to the contractor under his risk. It's not related to the client. So then the contractor is entitled to only 180 days instead of 115 days. The last subsection in the section number 6 is the contract's entitlements. We go back to our 4 pillars. We have the cause, we have the effect or the impact, and we have also the entitlements. If you have cause and you have impact, but you are not entitled, so there is no claim. Let us give example. Maybe there is a delay in building permits, for example. But if we go to the contractor, we find out that the contractor is responsible for the building permits. So there is no entitlements from the contract to give an extension of time because the delay in the building permit. So you have cause, you have effect, you need entitlement. What give you the entitlements is the contract clauses. So you need to search in the contract what the clauses that help your claim, and you can rely on them to build your claim. And it's important that also we see it in many claims that the contractor just refer to the clause number and expecting that the other party understand why the contractor refer to this clause. In the entitlement section or subsection, you need to explain clearly what is the clause and why you are referring to this clause and how this clause is applicable to your case, not just writing the clause number or even the clause statement. You need to explain why I'm referring to this clause. So as example, in our case, the contractor here mentioning sub-clause 13.1. So just imagine that I'm reading a claim and I see that the contractor in time is sub-clause 13.1. Why? I don't know. So I need to understand why this sub-clause in our case. So the contractor add here clearly what is the clause or sub-clause says. The engineer may instruct a variation at any time before issuing the taking over certificate. It's fine. This is the clause says. And on 12 January, the engineer issued construction drawings for the second and third floor, constituting a variation under clause 13.1. So he wants to refer to this clause and saying why I'm referring to this clause. So here clearly state why I'm putting this sub-clause in my claim. Then I'm building my claim on sub-clause 20.1, the contractor's claim. But why? Again, the clause says if the contractor consider himself to be entitled to an extension of time for completion, and then the contractor shall give notice to the engineer describing the event or circumstance giving rise to the claim. Why I'm referring to this clause? Because on 15 January, the contractor acknowledged that the variation and issued a notice under sub-clause 20.1. In this paragraph, the contractor trying to close the door that make a lot of dispute argument in the claim field is the contractor submit? Did the contractor submit a claim or not? did the contractor submit the notice of claim late or based or according to the contract? So here, the contractor mentioned it clearly that we submitted the notice of claim on time. So this is a quick example how we use the contract clauses as a reference or as supportive to our story or our claim. So again here, let us say, for example, also the contractor referred to clause 8.5, 8.4, extension of time for completion, and stated what the clause say. The contractor shall be entitled subject to subclause to an extension of time. One of these cases is a variation unless an adjustment to the time has been agreed. And based on this clause, the contractor is entitled to an extension of time for completion under subclause 8.4 and 13. So as a summary for this section, because this is, as we mentioned previously, the heart of the claim, and here is very important. If there is any missing link or if this section is weak, your entire claim will be suffer. So we have the cause, and we need to explain clearly why I consider this event or this variation is a cause, not just titling that the delay or the variation itself, because maybe a variation, but there is no cause. There's no delay. So I need to explain why this variation a cause. I need to explain clearly how I calculate and how this cause make impact on my claim. I need clearly state or explain, as we mentioned here, how we calculated the extended time. And clearly, we need an entitlements. The entitlements come from the contract clauses. I need to refer clearly what clauses I'm using in my case and why I'm using these clauses. Then the last section is the appendixes. This is the fourth pillar in our four pillars is the evidence, is the provement. Whatever you will say in your claim, whatever calculation you will provide, if there is no evidence, as we say in the normal language or something, if it's not written, it didn't happen. So don't say to me that that happened and that happened, and there is no evidence for that. So every statement, every calculation in my claim submission or claim document need to be proved by evidence, by document. You are referring to RFI, you will put your RFI here and you will clearly explain why this RFI is related to your claim. You are referring to calculation, so you need to put the calculation here. So this section is the fourth pillar, which is the provement, the evidence, or the substantiation. So this is our sections in the extension of time document. In case we have additional payment or prolongation cost calculation, so we will have one more section below this, which is section number 7. Then we will have the section number 9, which is the appendix. So that's all from my side. I know this is a lot of information, but I try to go through every section briefly to explain and discuss with you what we expect, what we have in the claim documents, and what most important information need to be considered. So thank you so much. And if any questions?